Welcome back to the next session on research methodology and research ethics. We will be taking ancient wisdom's approach to this topic. This is the third set of ideas for the approach that we are calling the Sahana Vavatu approach. That's the mantra that we start with usually. We will be proceeding from identifying the research problem to developing what we call the research hypothesis. And the research hypothesis will be, is a research ethics curriculum possible which can help reduce social pain? And can this curriculum become a curricula which gets absorbed in all subjects of study in a manner that their application removes or reduces social pain? So that is the goal. Let's recap how our last session ended. It stated that OECD discovered after 2008 recession that the spread of education in the industrial and digital revolutions in the last 150 years created a lot of prosperity, but with social pain. It now wishes to create prosperity without social pain. We studied the process last time. Can we assimilate the spirit of education so that prosperity is created without social pain? The Sahana Vavatu approach is learning the spirit of working with using the spirit together. This comes through togetherness, because society is about living in togetherness, and this togetherness starts with teaching, with learning, and in application at all times. So when the spirit of togetherness gets absorbed during the teaching learning interaction and the process, then it becomes natural to the way we react in life to everything. So it's a lifelong process that we intend to learn together. That's the spirit. If we learn this spirit together, whatever we do in life will get reflected in our work too. So let us go further. What has changed in the world since 2008? This graph given in OECD's Future of Education and Skills 2030 project report gives this graph, which shows how during the Industrial Revolution and Digital Revolution, it has brought growth of technology and education on the same graph. So you are trying to measure these two things in one quadrant, in one dimension. It is relating progress and education. But how does it impact us? That becomes a question for us to consider. So what is this Sahana Vavatu approach with which we are approaching this issue? If what the OECD says that the new approach to education can needed to remove social pain or reduce social pain, then a new approach is needed. If that be so, then what can it? We mentioned that there are three approaches to learning and teaching. The first is tell me and I forget. That's the usual method. The teacher walks into the classroom, teaches and goes. The other is teach me or show me and I will remember. And we had taken the example of Harvard and their case study method earlier. The third approach is what we intend to use, which is the Sahana Vavatu approach. It seeks to involve students not only in the ideas of learning but in the method of learning, so that they become one with the method of teaching and the ideas of teaching, where the teacher and the taught seek a way together. Therefore, this implies that there should be a oneness of purpose, not only between the student and the teacher, but we are demonstrating or exploring the idea of oneness within academic courses also. The different courses that are taught, how can there be a oneness between them? So we are choosing two courses here, research methodology, and we are using this course to develop the curriculum and curriculum ideas of research ethics to solve, prevent, reduce social pain. So the oneness of in academic ideas across these courses is the first step to seeing that ultimately when these ideas are applied in life, there should be the same oneness of purpose, that is to reduce social pain. So now that we have widened the perspective of research ethics to approach what we can call the biggest problem which the world is facing, that is of reducing social pain with economic prosperity, then how do we proceed in our research methodology? If we go by the course guidelines which are given in the beginning of the course, we can say, yes, we have reached the stage of problem identification. We have yet to see what research hypothesis to formulate. Can the findings of organizations like OECD, World Economic Forum, etc. guide us at this stage? So this is as far as developing the course is concerned. Now let's switch contexts and let us switch into your shoes. How will you proceed with your PhD thesis? Will you take similar steps as we are taking? You may learn from this example that we are sharing with you. The example of identifying a research problem and building a hypothesis, and we are taking up this problem together. And as we take up this problem together, we will learn from your questions. Let us see how other universities globally look at this. Let's look at Cornell. It lists 7 steps in the research process. It starts with saying identify your topic, find background information, and it proceeds like this, which is use your catalogs, indexes, find additional internet resources. So this is the way it proceeds. Let's see how we can proceed. That becomes our key question. This Sahana Vavatu approach looks at all these things that Cornell is saying, but seeks some more things. It seeks to search within you before you research outside, which means it creates a oneness in your mind's questions and your research. This is broadly true. You always do this. But what we are saying, that the Sahana Vavatu approach goes further by saying that the feeling within should be a strong question arising from inside you in a manner that you are sure that this can become a lifelong commitment to self. Therefore, the first step is to clarify your mind by asking questions and explore within yourself while you are exploring the resources which are available outside, as Cornell has listed. So let us now explore the topic of the link between social pain and education to find a solution to this approach. If our search is true, then a curriculum of research ethics should emerge naturally from our quest. Can reducing social pain through using ethics in education be researched? First of all, we have to ask ourselves, is it possible to do it? How can you say that education will reduce social pain, and how can you research this? It looks too vague, too ambiguous. Firstly, okay, if we accept this challenge, can a methodology of bringing out ethics from within the student, can that be a goal? So we ask broad questions, and these are brave questions. But these questions are the need of our time, so we need to ask them. Can you also ask brave questions, which you feel are the need of the time and the topic that interests you, fascinates you, obsesses you? Let us see how we proceed with what fascinates and obsesses us. To design a course on research ethics and research methodology that can use academic concepts and enlarge their application to address this need of society is definitely a challenge. But can we make it into a passion? Until it becomes a passion, how will we find a solution? Because a PhD research topic implies pure-hearted devotion to what we seek to achieve. So we must, when we approach a topic like this, what is our purpose? Our purpose is to transform the student. So therefore, it must be clear to you who is going to use your research. Where will the research be used? We want the student to apply this research when he or she acts in society. So when your PhD thesis result is applied, where will it be? used? Who will use it? This is what we brought out in the very first set of interaction that we had in the ab initio exchange, the first lecture. So we want the process of search for a curriculum to help students understand the role, the direction, and the application and use of academics. So academics is not a degree that you are seeking, but you are trying to increase the degree of your competence. You are trying to increase the degree of your commitment to society. You are trying to increase the degree of your commitment to your research topic. Is this an acceptable goal for all of us? Let us honestly ask ourselves this question and answer it. Only if the goal is acceptable to you from within should you proceed with your research. Then we proceed to the next issue, that developing a methodology. So what problem should our methodology address? We can say what is the need for what we are doing to decide a methodology. In our case, where we are designing a curriculum for research ethics, we can say that a criticism exists currently, which is whatever is taught is becoming irrelevant by the time I am mature enough to apply it. A student may say that by the time I go and apply what I have learned, the knowledge itself has changed. So what do? This is true, because everything is changing. So can the methodology of ethics research or research ethics course give a never-changing guide to the student so that when he works and applies it in life and at work, he's able to handle or she is able to handle ever-changing situations in the world using these concepts? So now let us look at change. What has changed to create the need for our research and a curriculum design on research ethics? Ask yourself when you are doing the PhD thesis decision, what has created the need for this? This question, if we have to answer in the case of curriculum design for research ethics, we will say that education for a century and a half was believed to be the cause of prosperity. For the last 150 years, we were very happy saying that because of education, see, all of us are becoming prosperous. So that was the goal. Prosperity was the goal of all countries, that we have to become prosperous. And this prosperity was linked to two revolutions, the Industrial Revolution followed by the Digital Revolutions. Within academics, the idea of social inequality and social problems was not actively considered as something directly linked to education. But after 2008 recession, the OECD seems to have changed this thought. So now a new academic thought is needed, or is it? What will lead to this new thought? If a new thought is needed, what guides the thought? Research has to guide new thought. So until there is research, how will new thought be created? And until new thought is created, how will a new curriculum be designed? A similar case is with your PhD thesis. What is the new thing that you bring to the table which addresses the new emergent need of society or your field of research or your field of work? Therefore, to meet the new challenge, our research ethics and research methodology should validate if and how social pain can be reduced by the concepts of education that we are discussing. Many will agree that if we increase the focus of ethics in education, it will help to reduce social pain. There seems to be some broad agreement slowly emerging on this issue. But how will ethics transform research and its methodology? That becomes a question. And how to validate this? So can you expand the topic of research to seek the application of your idea in society? That becomes a challenge to you. How to proceed with such a focus on application of what you are searching? Is it possible to search for answers where none seem to exist? There is a need for an answer to reduce social pain. But can I quantify it in an equation where I can understand and grasp it? So an answer doesn't seem to exist so easily. Therefore, can you start ab initio like we started in our very first lecture, first set of exchanges? Can you start ab initio? That is, attempt to ask questions which go into the very first causes. And by doing so, will this change the axis of your thought and widen the scope of research to solve a practical problem? So we decided we will use this as a case study, what we are doing. So let us proceed. What focus of search or research caused social pain? The situation that we are in today currently is because of our past. So what was the focus of search or research at that time which led to the situation today? If OECD is removing the goal of prosperity and replacing it, does this imply that education was the cause of social pain? It has now shifted the focus to human well-being and has set a 2030 goal for its new agenda. So will this change of focus impact the nature of research that will be needed in society? And if so, what will be its methodology? In this methodology and in this new education, is there a new role of research ethics? Therefore, we go not just into the first cause. Can we also try to explore ab initio the first definition itself? Are we clear on our definition of what we want? Earlier we said we wanted progress, now we say we want well-being. So can we go into definition of what is our goal? Can we look at sources that define concepts that you are researching? Some of these sources may be unrelated, but is their understanding of the definition helping you to expand your understanding? Because when we are looking at the definition, when we said earlier the goal was prosperity and now it is well-being, so can we question that? Do they know the definition of what they want society to be? Therefore, is there a role for you in your PhD thesis to add to the definition of the concept that you are researching? First look at that. How to widen the concept that you are researching. For this, you need to explore yourself as you explore your topic. Therefore, what we are asking you to do is, can you structure the problem differently? The way out found by the developed world today is education. The 2008 crisis made OECD change the goal of human endeavor. When a crisis emerges, why is education being targeted? Is it because highly educated people are in responsible positions? What led to the misuse of ideas of education that these people in responsible positions had? Is it because education did not have a focus on ethics and a methodology to ensure both progress and well-being together? We just assume that with progress, well-being will come naturally. It did not come naturally. So can we explore what was that missing focus and what can research methodology and our research ethics course do to help out at this juncture? So what is the first thing to build a new solution? The OECD has, in its Future of Education and Skills Report 2030, it has an interesting graph. It says that values and attitudes are equally important or are the basis for the axis on which skills and knowledge should be developed and used. And the goal that they have set for doing this is 2030, and we are already at 2020 today. So where does this take us? How does OECD and World Economic Forum plan to prevent, how do they plan to prevent future problems? 4 things are clear. First, they seek to transform education. And what is the expectation from education? is that they are seeking values to transform attitudes. And World Economic Forum is seeking character to build competencies. All that we are talking about is foundational literacies, which are only 1/3 of the skills needed for the 21st century according to the World Economic Forum. Competencies like creativity will be needed with character. So how does this look like? In their new Vision for Education report given in 2015, if you see, what currently education is obsessed with is literacy, numeracy, ICT literacy, financial literacy, because of so many problems. That's what will get students their high salaries. So if students are ignoring many other skills to develop competencies in financial literacy, scientific literacies, and all that. But that's only 1/3 of the things that the World Economic Forum says will be needed in the 21st century. What is the parameter in which all this works? The parameter in which all this works will be lifelong learning. So how do you develop the desire for lifelong learning? When we said earlier that your PhD thesis you have to explore within and say, is this a question to which I can be wedded for a lifetime to find the answer? So that's how lifelong learning emerges. And foundational literacies are, as we said, the world is changing, knowledge is changing earlier it used to change every 10 years, now it's probably changing every 5 years. So your foundational literacies are only 1/3 of the issue. What you need is competencies. And what is the competency? They are talking of collaboration. And what is collaboration? The Sahana Vavatu approach is collaboration. The collaboration between the teacher and the taught to one purpose, a common purpose. The ability to build a collaborative frame of mind is the purpose of calling this approach Sahana Vavatu approach and building a case study around it to integrate the modern education system with the ancient education system of collaboration and of building collaboration right from the very beginning. And this kind of collaboration is based on what it lists under competencies as communication. And this transfer, you may learn from my experience and I will learn from your questions, because the innocence of your questions is going to be infinite, while the years of experience that I have may give you a critical thinking or a problem solving approach, which is what the competencies are listing. And what will this bring out? Creativity, which completes all the list of things in the competencies desired by the World Economic Forum to enable skills of the 21st century. And then there are character qualities. So what does it include? Social and cultural awareness. So how do you build social and cultural awareness? That becomes a task, which means that you must be able to relate to other people. And this relation to other people should start in the classroom itself. That's why we are calling this series the Sahana Vavatu series, because it seeks to build collaboration. So where is the change taking place? What is happening in the world? If it is taking place in the world and it is taking place in India, why should a change not be taking place in the very courses that we are learning? And these courses are research methodology and research ethics. So how can we grow with the change rather than follow the change? Can we be part of leading the change, where India in its new education policy wants education to help achieve the full human potential? And the World Economic Forum is asking us that education should help achieve human well-being. So these are the goals. This is the future. For this we said a commitment to lifelong learning should come, as the World Economic Forum says. And this commitment is something which is within. It is not outside in textbooks. It is not outside in the research of others or the latest research done by a top scientist, or the latest technology that is brought that may aid you to do your research better, to fulfill your commitment better. But lifelong learning has to come from a search within. Therefore, what are the questions which will aid our search within? The spirit of a solution that all of us are seeking together in this session and the sessions that follow is what curricula of education will create well-being. So that is the unity of purpose. We saw that excellence has been produced during using the education ideas ever since the Industrial Revolution. So many scientific discoveries, inventions have made life so very comfortable. We can talk over such a distance, be with each other over such a distance, try to create the oneness over such a distance using technology. And research is what has led the way to this progress and prosperity. Yet, despite so much, we have still not been able to reduce social pain. Therefore, can we conclude that excellence that has enabled all this technology, this excellence is only a necessary condition. Therefore, this excellence must be a necessary condition for your research. Will your research be visualized keeping goodness in the mind, especially in its use and application? And the application of what? The big idea that inspires your PhD thesis, that inspires your research. Now we have to ask ourselves that we want lifelong learning. So where will the impact, and we want lifelong learning using values, transforming attitudes, using character. So what does this whole area relate to? Does it relate to the inner world inside us, or does it relate to the outer world where we have much research going on which can guide us, and much progress going on, and many new topics in areas and vistas of research opening up? But if we need to transform the values, the attitudes and the character, we need to build on the inner world. So how does this impact our research and our ideas for research? Therefore, does inner search become the basis of the application of research? So should our research start with an inner search first, which was our ab initio lecture? The very first lecture, the beginning point was search. I cannot answer the question. You have to answer the question for yourself by first asking the question. I can only help you ask the question. And we are raising these questions that will help your research and search to remain meaningful for future generations. So can your research ethics and methodology help build your and those who use your research? Can they help build their character and make the users of your research use your research with values? How will a focus on values imply a new methodology of researching and applying it? Will ancient wisdom's techniques become relevant? Because they are the ones which aid the inner search, and this inner search in ancient wisdom develops character, transforms attitudes, creates competencies and creativity, promotes well-being, all skills that are needed in the 21st century. So can these better skills emerge with a desire of excellence and a feeling of oneness of purpose, of reducing social pain? We started this exercise to create a feeling of cooperation, Sahana, Vavatu, between the way you study, what you study, and the application of your study. So the way you study is cooperation. What you study, you fill it with cooperation from various resources which Cornell has listed. And the application of your study should also be in the spirit of cooperation, which is not harming anybody, but only helping others and being one with the environment. So this feeling of oneness was created not only by such an approach between things, but we are trying to demonstrate it not only interdisciplinary but also intradisciplinary. So within the research ethics course, we are trying to use a case study to develop the Sahana Vavatu approach. Then between two courses, the research methodology course and the research ethics course, we are showing a oneness of purpose and using research methodology to see how the curriculum of research ethics can emerge from it. So who is the mother, who is the child becomes irrelevant. Who is stronger, who is weaker becomes irrelevant. We are both working together. The power equations which are guiding the world, which are guiding society, which are guiding our thought are removed by the Sahana Vavatu approach. And that is what reduces social pain. The oneness of research methodology with ethics of research is a demonstration. What we are doing is a demonstration that this possibility exists and can be implemented. Of course, it has to be validated, and we will try to validate it. The application of these ideas, we will try to validate it across all subjects. The question finally becomes, who will lead the change that 21st century wants? Is your research going to offer solutions for tomorrow? Or will it become a part of history after a few years? Your topic decides this, and your research ethics and methodology also decide this. Will they become an example for others to follow or for others to forget? Will your inner search lead to identifying problems that others have not seen as yet and to find solutions before they have found the problem? You have a solution ready before the problem arises. Will your research be application oriented, or will it create yet another theory and one more set of static ideas? Will your research transform you as an individual? If it cannot transform you, how can it transform society? So how to research a way out for society? Let us look at that. Can we first of all define what research is? The EU textbook on ethics and research gives the syllabus of this in addition to another textbook it has on ethics and research. This is used in training courses in research ethics and by researchers and research ethics committees, etc. And what it admits is that the challenge is to come up with a definition of research that includes such diverse activities. So can your research, your PhD thesis include such diverse activities? It's saying that research by its nature includes diverse activities. So is that a signal to you to have diverse activities in your PhD thesis? So can it be used by others as a basis of training the human mind in its effort? That is for you to see. So what is the conclusion that we may reach? The EU report asks how to distinguish research from audit or journalism. Its working definition is: research aims to generate information, knowledge, understanding, or some other relevant cognitive good through systematic investigation. Now, this is very important, and have we forgotten it? The role of cognitive good through investigation. We are talking of self-investigation. We are expanding this to include self-investigation. So is there more? Isn't this more about health of the mind rather than knowledge that the human mind is given and checked for? You are giving an exam and checking for the knowledge that is there in the human mind. But are we trying to do something about the health of the mind? Will this kind of question answer take the purpose of education in another dimension? So will your application of research include such ideas of cognitive good? Can it serve the cognitive good? Can it explore this? Or will your research be a collection of new tools and applications? Or will it design the applications so that it encourages or can be used in a dimension that promotes cognitive good? Therefore, ask yourself this question when you decide your PhD topic. Is cognitive good a motivation for your research idea? What question does this solution answer? Does it give the missing focus in education that led to the 2008 recession? Was the absence of cognitive goodness the cause of the 2008 recession? We know from the wonderful scientific inventions, discoveries, and scientifically designed curriculum that there is a great leap forward in the ability to create excellence. Does this mean that excellence is a necessary condition but not a sufficient condition? Is goodness in human action the sufficient condition? And is ethics the way to create this focus on human goodness? Therefore, should ethics of search and research share a common goal in what we call this Sahana Vavatu approach, the search-research methodology? So the well-being goal that is being set by OECD for 2030, can it be generated by this search-research Sahana Vavatu approach, which focuses exclusively on the cognitive good? Prosperity, we know, can be measured by mathematical numbers. You can look at GDP, you can look at many numbers. But well-being may need not one, but many numbers to describe it. And still, it may be incomplete. Creating well-being needs things that create prosperity, but also many more things which are maybe immeasurable. Ethics seems to be one of them, because it cannot be measured. It has to be felt, experienced, acted upon. Was there ethics in the search for prosperity before 2008? If there was ethics, then the crisis should not have come. Then there would have been no need for OECD to change the goal from prosperity to well-being. Now, when we want a solution, should ethics of search guide a new methodology of search research? Two arguments are given for research in the EU report, and it is good to have a look at both the arguments. The first argument is that research is useful because of the extrinsic value of knowledge produced. That is, research is valuable because of what knowledge enables all of us to do. We discussed in the very first interaction, the very first lecture, that research gives answers to what happens. And we used many examples from science to show it. But does the EU report find why search can be the basis of research? The very first ab initio set of exchanges we had, the very first lecture. Because argument 2 uses the idea that knowledge produced by research may be intrinsically valuable. It justifies why research lacking direct application may well be ethical. In the very first question we asked, why is space three-dimensional and time one-dimensional? Why things happen? So that was the basis of the very beginning of our interactions. Therefore, we are going to pause here so that you can think over what does not seem valuable may actually be so. They said in the previous slide that you need to, even though research may be lacking direct application, still you pursue it for its intrinsic value. Therefore, which is basically what the ancient wisdoms Bhagavad Gita also says, Karmanya vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You are not doing it for the result, you are doing it because it is the right thing to do. And because it is the right thing to do, it appeals to your conscious. It merges and emerges from your consciousness, and therefore it may not seem relevant, it may not seem valuable, but actually may be so. Protecting the environment, thinking of the impact on society, or the way children or uninformed persons will apply your PhD work practically is also a relevant question. Even though by asking these questions, the profit or the profitability of your company may seem to suffer in the short run, but when a 2008 kind of crisis is avoided, the benefits in the long run are immeasurable. We leave it to you to add this dimension of what we discussed to your thought about the PhD topic you are going to choose. When we restart, and if we restart, we will start with another set of questions and explorations that may guide both of us, especially if the topic close to our heart, close to your heart. You have chosen a topic, it's close to your heart, but you are feeling that there is a lack of opportunity if I pursue it. There is no point of pursuing it because there is no commercial application, or society will reject it, but it is the right thing to do. The frame of mind of people currently is not going to accept your work. If this is the thought that is guiding the selection of your topic in your mind, please expand your framework to a larger framework. Check with you, are you obsessed with the idea? Check with you, all with yourself, with your inner search, all the questions that we have discussed till now. I leave you with a set of questions, and I look forward to your set of answers and the questions that will arise from the set of answers that you have made to your questions which you share with us. And in this interaction, we will learn as much, if not more, than you will. Thank you so much for this interaction.